Good evening, I'm James Brierton in Charlotte. It is May the 6th, 2020. Can you believe it is May already? We had a thunderstorm roll on through here earlier and brought the temperatures way down as we are looking ahead to a cool down the next few days and through the weekend. Could be pretty chilly as you wake up on Mother's Day, Sunday morning. But we're so happy you're with us tonight on this Wednesday night. The panel will be along in just a few moments for tonight's episode. It's kicking off a new series that we're calling Quarantining at Home. We're kicking it off with the weather team from WECT, the NBC affiliate in Wilmington, North Carolina. It's designed to be kind of a lighthearted experience among all of the serious news that is going on. But first, we do have to start on a more serious tone tonight. The National Weather Service has confirmed that an EF1 and an EF2 tornado struck southern portions of Chester County and Lancaster County in South Carolina about this time yesterday. It all kicked off at about 6:30 when the National Weather Service at Greenville-Spartanburg issued that tornado warning as a tornadic supercell was moving to the east just south of the city of Chester. It continued to move to the east where it produced an EF1 tornado, brought down some trees and some power lines, and much of that town was in the dark for a good portion of the evening. Now, the storm itself was moving just north of Little Rock Creek when it most likely lifted and then dropped again. What is being considered a second tornado then touching down near Interstate 77 as it began to leave Chester County, enter into Lancaster County, move towards Great Falls, where the National Weather Service out of Columbia took jurisdiction of the storm. Now, both Weather Service offices went out there today, did storm surveys, and the team out of Columbia came back with EF2 damage caused by the tornado in Great Falls, and that would have been winds of about 115 miles an hour. The other thing you're looking at here on your screen, we're going to go ahead and bring these beautiful and stunning pictures full screen for you. This is friend of the show, Chris Jackson, was out yesterday in the area with his drone. I believe it's a DJI Maverick. And take a look at these stunning pictures. You can see that supercell coming towards him, the lightning that is being produced by this storm. Now, the tornado itself is not believed to have caused any deaths or injuries. However, one man did die in Chester County yesterday from a lightning strike, and you can see some of that powerful lightning here being produced by the storm. And then it dropped hail up to 2 inches, golf ball size hail reported as associated with this storm, and you can see how it littered the ground. Almost looks like a winter morning here as Chris is showing us these aerial pictures, and you can see almost a fog rolling in, and it is actually a fog rolling in over the valley caused by the sudden cool of those temperatures and all of that cold ice particles now sitting on the ground. So the National Weather Service is still working to finalize most of their storm surveys, and we'll have updates for you on Facebook and Twitter as we learn more. But again, to recap, EF1, EF2 tornado in parts of Chester and Lancaster County on Tuesday evening, and thanks to Chris Jackson for these pictures. Now let's get over to Scotty Powell and the panel for tonight's kickoff of our Quarantining at Home series with the meteorologists from WECT in Wilmington. Scotty.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Carolina Weather Group. Welcome. We want to welcome the WECT weather team out of Wilmington, North Carolina. They've gratefully accepted our invitation to just have our question and answer segment with the folks. So happy to have on with us Gannon Medwick, Eric Davis, and Kellie McGlynn, as they all are at either home or the weather state at the TV station doing some work. And so when this is recorded, we actually had a severe weather event move through. So Eric and Kellie are actually in the studio, it looks like. So happy to have them join us for a few minutes. Guys and gals, we just want to start off with some quick hitting questions. So I'll throw out the first question, and I'll let Dan and Evan join in. Our first question is about social media. Which do you prefer better, Twitter or Facebook? Gannon, I'll let you start.
It's a good one. I'd probably say Twitter in terms of the way things just come up and they have to be succinct. So I'd probably say that. Although Facebook, I have had more traction and followers over the years. So that's a positive.
All right. Kellie, Eric?
I'm personally probably more of a Twitter myself. I have a lot more followers on Facebook page. But I think in terms of weather information, if you're looking purely for that, I think Twitter is definitely the way to go. But Facebook is definitely a different way to interact, I think, on a more personal level.
Kellie, you have a choice?
I would say I like to use Twitter for active weather events. I think folks tend to appreciate that more than Facebook, where it could pop up, days later. And, sometimes people will get that mixed up with actually what's going on outside. But in terms of Facebook, I think it's good because people like to see a personal side to you. So to get kind of who you are outside of the studio out to social media for people to kind of connect with you on that kind of level is why I like Facebook a little bit better than Twitter.
Absolutely. Those are great answers. I'm going to hop in with one of my favorite questions from the list. What is your favorite weather disaster themed movie? I know there's one big forerunner here.
That's a great, yeah.
But Gannon, we'll start with you.
Weather disaster. The first one that popped into my head was Perfect Storm.
Okay.
With Mark Wahlberg and George Clooney back in the day. Like,
someone said that last time. That's a good choice.
Yeah, and it was kind of fun. I mean, you pick out in any weather and disaster themed movie that you pick out the inadequacies of the weather and the geography, and that gets you a little bit. But that one was fairly entertaining, I guess.
Okay. Good. Kellie?
The first thing that popped into my mind was The Day After Tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
Just because my dad used to like that movie. So I kind of, grew up watching it and always kind of had some kind of appreciation for all the wild stuff that happens in that movie.
Good choice.
I guess mine would be Twister. That was out about the time I was graduating from graduate school, or graduating from college. That's about probably aged myself a little bit, but I just love cow, flying up in the air. It's classic. And there's a lot of liberties with that movie, but it's kind of a cool theme. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great.
Yeah.
Dan, you got one?
Yeah, and I'm with you there. That Twister. Personally, I think if you haven't seen Twister at least a dozen times, you're missing
exactly.
out. But kind of in the same mode here. Back to you, Gannon. Kind of circling around. As far as music goes, do you have any favorite type of music, or even any music that kind of gets you in the mood for weather or weather related music?
There's really no weather connection to music, but that's an interesting thought. I wonder if there's something deeper going on that maybe I'm not aware of consciously. But if I'm in the forecast center, I'm listening to a variety of music. My couple of favorites are hip hop, either classic or modern. I like classic alternative, like 80s new wave, and I also like some classic rock, like Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. So I'd say that it's pretty rangy in terms of those styles.
Gannon also likes to listen to rap too. He always has some sick rap songs.
That was number one. Yeah, the hip-hop, yeah.
Not on board with the rap so much, but I'm a big 80s fan. Just love all kinds of 80s music. I mean, Michael Jackson. I mean, the range. Def Leppard. I like the hard rock, and some 90s stuff is good too.
I'm gonna move to a different room.
We also have
Kellie might be moving to a different room.
Just because we're hearing each other.
A little bit of feedback, I think.
We have Gabe Ross joining us. Gabe also a meteorologist at WECT. So Gabe, welcome. As Kellie's moving, we'll let you answer that question. Any favorite type of music for you?
Favorite type of music? Great question. Typically, my go-to is 70s classic rock. Anything that's got a good beat to it. Typically, my Sirius XM is tuned to 70s on 7. So any of that, even like early 80s rock that kind of bleeds over. Gannon and I have a soft spot for Hall & Oates, I think.
Oh, Hall & Oates.
Yeah.
Good stuff. 80s, I'm on board.
That's like the common denominator, I think.
We all had a lot more hair then, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Some of us weren't born yet.
I was going to say, yeah, Jess.
Some of us had no hair.
I think Kellie is moving around, so we'll let her chime in here in a second. Here's another
Kellie's
one.
going to blow your mind.
some of our quick hitting questions. A dog or cat person? Gannon, I think I already know the answer for you.
Dog.
Dog.
Score one for dog right here.
I would go primarily dog, but you know, if the cat's tame enough, why not?
Okay. All right.
Great answers. So I want to transition a little bit into some weather-themed questions. This one's coming from one of our followers on Twitter who doesn't have a name, but PsychK8, I guess. And I wanted to know, what is a weather event that impacted you the most? Gannon?
I'd have to say the April 16, 2011 tornado outbreak in terms of formative and impacts. Even I was shorter than Florence. Florence is maybe an easy reach on a recent level, but just had everything. April 16th, the build up, the actual event, just the emotions of it. We lost people, and then the aftermath, and plus everything that was going on in my life around that time as well. We were speaking about that on a recent Carolina weather group, and so that one's going to stick with me forever and probably hold the top spot in terms of real raw impact.
Kellie?
I would definitely say Hurricane Florence, just because that was the first hurricane I covered on air. And as impactful as it was, I think that's kind of just something that's always going to stick with you. I mean, we're still remembering stories of what happened, because I think at one point, like, you just start to kind of like black out from what's going on. And so we've talked about it, you know, just with some other people in the newsroom, like, hey, do you remember this? And you're like, oh, wait a minute, that did happen. So there's always kind of just more stories, and just, you know, just looking back on everything is kind of just something that will stay with me for probably the rest of my career.
Good answer.
I'd probably say recently, I'm with Kellie, probably Hurricane Florence, but Gannon makes a good point with the April 2011 tornadoes. I happen to actually be working in Texas on the May 3rd, 1999 outbreak. Remember, Texas and Oklahoma, Moore, Oklahoma. Now, I wasn't in Oklahoma at the time, but I was in Abilene, Texas, and we had a couple of what would now be classified as EF2 tornadoes touching down, baseball size hail, just incredible stuff. But I was on the periphery of that event. That was pretty exciting. And just to maybe turn it in a different direction, I guess two of the big weather events that really inspired me to go into weather. I think growing up, I'd always had an interest in being a meteorologist, but two big weather events happened right about the time I was graduating from high school and kind of pushed me more into the meteorology field. The Raleigh tornado of 1988. I don't know, we're kind of going way back here, but the Raleigh tornado of 1988, I just remember the damage. And one of my friends in high school, there was only 2 deaths, surprisingly, with that tornado, but a friend of mine in high school actually had to perform CPR and unfortunately lost one of the girls who died in that tornado. So that was kind of a direct impact. And also, I think Hurricane Hugo, which was just a little bit later in 1989. So I think those 2 events really kind of pushed me into the meteorology field and really had a big impact on my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Heavy stuff. Gabe?
For me, I mean, I'm with Kellie. You know, Florence was certainly substantial. Prior to that, I guess within my first year of doing weather professionally, there was a massive derecho that came through Ohio, June 29th, 2012. And it ripped through the Buckeye State. A lot of folks were without power for a week. For me, memorable because I was working at a very small market TV station in Zanesville, and I was the only one working that weekend. So I basically lived at the station for 48 hours. We lost power to the TV end of things, so it was constant radio updates. I slept in the basement. Temperatures were, I would say, in excess at times of 85 degrees just in the actual studio. Outside, daytime highs were in the deep 90s, and I want to say some low hundreds, but just an incredible system to see it sweep through. I mean, straight line winds, I want to say they were close to 90 miles an hour, if not more than that. It's been so long, but it's certainly sticking in my mind. But of course, most recently, Florence, and even a little bit with Dorian too, just the tornado outbreak that Gannon and I were covering that morning. It will stick with me for a long time.
Well, and so sticking with you here, you've talked about what's most memorable, but what would be your favorite? What's your favorite type of weather to forecast?
Favorite type of weather?
Winter weather. That's an easy one. I love snow.
Eric.
Don't get to see a lot of snow, so I get pretty
That's
excited
true.
with snow.
Yeah, pop-up showers and storms are, pretty expected during the summer. So after a while, it gets kind of tiresome. But yeah, anytime there's a threat of snow, mixed precipitation, especially down here, we get it from our viewers all the time. They're just, oh, is it going to snow? Well, a degree or two difference, and that's what we get. So it's a lot of fun.
Okay. Kellie, Gannon, choice on that?
I love tropical forecasting. That's my jam. I don't like winter weather forecasting at all, just because people are so mean about it. God forbid you get chilly rain instead of, snow, and it's the be all end all of the Carolinas. But I've always just loved tropical weather. That's been my thing for probably quite some time now.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Tropical is my favorite. Challenging weather to forecast and impactful weather to forecast. In terms of just favorite all around, though, I love those first couple of fall air masses that come down in September, October, August. Yeah. If we're lucky, we get a little taste. And I think those are fun to sort of gauge and talk about, just because you realize everybody's ready for that at that point. Even if you like summer, everybody seems to be happy when the weather just gets a little more mellowed out. So that's the kind that I like, that makes everybody happy. Hurricanes and tropical storms probably take the top spot, though, in terms of the challenge in the meteorology. It's just fascinating.
So speaking of your favorite weather, kind of the reverse of that, do you take it personal when you miss a forecast? I mean, does it bother you, or do you just kind of shrug it off and say on to the next one? I'll start with you, Eric.
I guess it depends on the circumstances. Sometimes, I know early in my career, I kind of got a good lesson in when I was in Rapid City. I completely I went outside and, I said, oh yeah, beautiful sunny day. And then all of a sudden some big storms develop in the Black Hills, like, oh, and then of course Rapid City that was my first job, was in Rapid City, South Dakota. Of course, obviously I've had many more misses since. And I guess it just depends on the experience. I guess when I go back and I look at something, I miss something, I'm a little more bothered, but sometimes, I guess Mother Nature just throws a monkey wrench in your forecast, and at that point, you just kind of have to say, oh, well. But I guess I'm a little more upset when I maybe didn't look at something and I should have, and then I missed the forecast.
Kellie, Gabe, Gannon?
Ladies first.
Yeah.
And I don't mean you, Gannon. No.
He wants to answer. I mean, yeah, of course, it's something that, if we miss a forecast, or, the timing of a line of storms is off by a couple hours and it arrives earlier. And, a lot of people work outside in the summer, like landscapers, and, people have businesses along the beaches, and they rely on those forecasts for their businesses. So, from time to time, we know how the summer goes here. Of course, we can't predict where those pop-up storms are going to be, but, I think it's a kick in the butt when we miss our own forecast, and, we let some viewers down. If you really want to say let them down, or, but I think for the most part, our viewers are very appreciative of our forecasting and how, accurate we can be in the summertime, especially during hurricane season. We get a lot of emails saying, how appreciative they are of, how interactive we are on social media and whatnot. So there's, pluses and minuses to that too.
I don't really feel like I take it personally, except for you got to put your name and your face on your product, so that when your product is less than perfect, it reflects on reflects on you that way. So it can't help but be personal. But I think I have, I've learned to kind of compartmentalize that and shake it off, if you will, maybe more than if I was a really young forecaster. And then also you learn when you have to eat humble pie that maybe you should have messaged it different. Maybe you knew there was a possibility that the outcome could have been that. Maybe I could have articulated that better. Probabilistic approach to forecasting as opposed to, oh, the high's going to be 75. And then if it's like 73, is that bad? No, we're talking about the same kind of flavor. So yeah, take it personally, but grain of salt. But only because we have to put our name and our face on the product. Otherwise, treat the instance as a learning opportunity to do better next time.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that, Gannon. At least in my case, probably compared to the other Mets that are on the team, I'd say I have I won't say least experience, but I know these guys could write books on the stuff that they know by comparison. And when I miss a forecast, it is just that, a learning experience. And agreed with Kellie that our viewers, I think, are very generous. They understand that what we do is difficult, and if it's a huge blow in the forecast, for instance, cold air is rushing in and it comes farther south than we anticipate, and so instead of seeing highs in the mid 70s, we don't even make it to 70, and that becomes tricky. And to Gannon's point, how could I have messaged that differently? What steps can I take to be clearer about that message going forward?
We blame it on the wedge here in Western North Carolina. It's all about the wedge. All right, Evan.
So last time I asked this question with the WFMY crew, we got somewhat of an unexpected answer. So this will be interesting. What is your favorite model website, if you have one?
Okay, I'll jump in. I use Weatherbell. I use the other ones like Pivotal and Tropical Tidbits occasionally. I probably need to use those a little bit more than I do, but I started paying the Weatherbell man, and I feel like I got, once you pay for the ticket to the amusement park, we're riding every ride, we're gonna use that all day. So that's kind of what I'm stuck on for the time being. It's good.
I didn't get a Weatherbell account, but a Pivotal just started charging. I was kind of using their Euro model, and then I think it was like Monday, I think they started charging. I was like, I kind of got to have something. Got to have my Euro. So yeah, I went ahead and just sucked it up and paid Pivotal. So I'm paying Pivotal. I'm with Gannon. I like Tropical Tidbits a lot. I'd say Pivotal and Tropical Tidbits are probably my two favorite.
Okay.
Complete agreement with the two of you. Pivotal, Tropical Tidbits. Good to know that they're paying. It's been since Sunday since I forecasted. So if they're paying now, then it looks like I'm going to have to knuckle down and get an account.
Just ask old Gannon. He'll help you out there.
Eric,
Weatherbell's a good side though. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Kellie?
I have to agree with the rest of the guys too. I like to use Tropical Tidbits obviously during hurricane season, but I favor Pivotal Weather for severe weather. I just think they have different parameters than Tropical Tidbits has, and I like to use that more.
Now, did those answers surprise you?
No, they did not.
Okay,
those are generally what we were expecting last time.
Sorry, guys.
Last time we got the Penn State E-Wall as the resounding answer from everyone.
I've used that a little bit.
Yeah.
I've used it.
And I had never heard of it before.
Gannon,
even with the hat, I've been using that for years, but I haven't used the E-Wall so much recently. I gotta be honest. I probably need to go back and check it out. That used to be my go-to for the HRRR mod for her. I used to go there on the E-Wall, but now I use Weatherbell.
So, Gannon, here while we're on you here, this kind of multi-part question. Were you scared of thunder and or lightning as a kid? And also, was there kind of a period connected to that or after that you knew you wanted to be a meteorologist?
My answer to the first part was not especially. Like, I don't have one specific knock your socks off thunderstorm memory that really freaked me out. And I have a couple of thunderstorm related memories. Like we actually had a lightning strike to a tree outside of my house. And I remember the current got in the house somehow to the extent that some electronics were messed up. And I remember thinking, whoa, how would that, you know? So I mean, it's like 3-4 years old. That kind of gets the gears turning in your head that something bigger is at play. It didn't really turn into fear. And I would say it was just a compilation of thunderstorms and other weather phenomena in aggregate that got my interest in meteorology going throughout my childhood years and in my adolescent years.
Okay, great. And Kellie, do you want to speak to that?
Was I scared of thunder and lightning when I was younger? Is that the question?
And then did that kind of evolve into an interest for meteorology one way or another?
I don't think I was ever scared of thunder and lightning. I actually would love when like a summer storm would pop up in Pennsylvania in the summer, and you just feel that nice rush of cool air. But I don't think that necessarily led to my love of weather. I mean, growing up in Pennsylvania, I mostly remember like huge snowstorms, even though I don't like winter weather forecasting that much, kind of ironic there. But that's kind of, what sparked my interest in weather, is waking up to like 2-3 feet of snow, just overnight. And it kind of just snowballed, if you will, from there.
I have to say I wasn't really that afraid of thunder and lightning. I certainly had an awareness of it. And one interesting thing is my house, I think when I was maybe 15 years old, was struck by lightning, or at least some streamers got into our house. And I remember my mom was making spaghetti that day, and she was cooking spaghetti sauce on an old cast iron pan, and the lightning actually burned a hole in the cast iron pan. I remember that very, very vividly.
Well, see, I'm going to go the opposite of these guys. I was scared to death of storms growing up, and I think doing weathers has helped me over the years, of course, get over that. I remember, I was living in Thornville, Ohio at the time. It was the summer of 96 or 97, I think 96, and we had just a huge, string of showers and storms that came through that resulted in what was basically tornadoes, and constantly the EAS tones going off. As a kid, it's kind of scary. So it always stuck with me. From there, I was always at least keeping an eyeball on the weather forecast, no matter what it was. And then when I got to college, I had actually, long story short, my folks had us grow up basically in TV. They were both TV personalities, TV managers in Columbus, Ohio. Got out of it for a little bit, and then college came around, and then got back into it. And so I started on the news end, and then I actually dated a meteorologist my junior year of college, and then that sparked the love of weather. So the relationship didn't last, but my love of weather from there on did.
At least you had something lasting from that.
We'll call it a nice parting gift. Yes.
Another question, and then we want to kind of get to some more fun questions. While we're taping this, we've been going through some crazy times in the country with the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is kind of another two-parter question. A lot of folks have been able to do weather from home, a lot of meteorologists. So my question is, what are your thoughts on doing weather from home, and what do you think the future of meteorology looks like? Do you think we can incorporate this more into your daily routine of what you guys do on TV? Whoever wants to start, I'll let whoever.
Well, my thoughts of weather from home is I think it's a great way to offer the service, the public service of distancing as you can. We've kind of followed the guidelines at work from our middle and upper managers, and we're kind of, as weather in terms of directives, the last off the boat, really. A lot of our anchors have been broken up, and our reporters have been taken away. Some of our producing has been doing sales, etc. But they've left us in place. But I mean, I think it's great when it can be done. I know Gabe has a great setup that he's probably going to speak to, and But I'm enjoying watching some of the setups and the creative things that people have in other media markets. Every little bit helps, I suppose.
Yeah, Gannon's right about that. I for sure think that this entire outbreak is going to change the landscape. Are we going to be doing this completely at home from now on? No, but certainly we have a baseline of what to do in the event that we can't be at the station. I mean, it's really no different than doing live shots, but the key is going to be for stations to help as much as they can, their meteorologists, their anchors, reporters, utilize the technology they have or provide them with the technology they have that is comparable to what they would have if they were in the building.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Gabe. Again, I think it is incumbent upon the stations to make sure that the meteorologists have the tools that they need, the computers, the broadcasting equipment they need to broadcast from home. I love the idea. Of course, I think you always run into the issue, of course, is probably severe weather. It's probably a little easier to probably see the broadcast from home on a quieter weather day, but when you start getting a severe weather situation, especially, it kind of feels like it's more incumbent to be at the station where you have all of the tools that you would really need to do a broadcast, especially on short notice.
Yeah, just to piggyback off what they were saying, I have personally seen a lot of very impressive work from home setups. And I think, at least for me, going in, you normally think you're a broadcasting major. Everything that you do needs to be done from the studio. And now that we, kind of are taking that step forward to work from home, there's so many different opportunities and doors open on how much can you expand this? What more can you do from home? And then you also think, how long is this going to last for? And, if it's, tech trends to be something that pops up more in the winter or in the summer or whatever it would be, would people just start to transition to working from home during that, time where people would more likely get sick than, during the off season, if you will, from that coronavirus?
It's amazing how many different setups there are too. I mean, you're right. I even saw a picture of someone using augmented reality in California and their weather hits. Wow, that's impressive. So transitioning away from some of the weather talk, and Kellie, I'll put this right back to you. What are some of your favorite non-weather hobby?
Well, I've recently started painting at home just to keep myself busy. And I've also realized that I'm pretty good at doing puzzles, since that's kind of one of the only things that I can do now. But I also love doing anything at the beach. Anybody who knows me knows anything coastal or nautical or ocean related. Like, my name is just all over it. I really want to start surfing. That's like the next thing on my list.
Are you able to get to the beach right now?
I know. Well, Gannon said there's parking in Carolina Beach, so I'm going to try and get down there like ASAP, because I usually go probably like 3 days out of the week, and I haven't been in like 2 months. So I'm starting to go a little stir crazy there.
The waves are good today, so
I know.
It could be a good day to learn. I'm seeing that.
Even just body surfing would be fine with me. Just something to get into. I love being in water and around water.
Awesome. Good choices. Eric?
Well, I don't get to do it enough, but I'd like to play tennis with my son. Obviously, in recent years, I've been having raising my kids, but now they're kind of getting older. So actually, probably in the future, I'm going to have a little more time to myself. But yeah, I love sports. I like golf. I'm a terrible golfer. I haven't golfed much recently, but I do love the sport. Obviously, I love just getting out, walking around. And, obviously when I go to neighborhood swimming pool, beach, things like that. Pretty simple guy. Wouldn't say I'm real complicated, but those are the kind of things I like.
We found out during a photo shoot that Eric has got some pretty awesome hoop skills.
Oh.
Yeah. This was.
Need to get in shape. I got to get in shape though. That's the first thing.
Well, yeah.
Is there any video of this?
I feel like someone recorded some cell phone video with it. I'm not 100% certain, but
I could shoot a little ball of the day. I could.
Yeah, it was October and November. I'm a perpetual band kid, so my athletic talent is slim and none unless it's pro wrestling, because it's predetermined and I know how to do it. So
you would fit in well with the WFNY crew last week. Every single one of them played an instrument, and they were all in the band back in the day. So we're trying to get a band together, a weather, meteorologist band. So we'll maybe reach
Not
out.
me.
Oh, well, I'm your guy. Any drums or any percussive needs, I've got you covered.
Okay. Gannon, what about you? Favorite non-weather hobby?
If you guys get a band together, I'll just call the bars to see if I can get you in. That'll be my role. I'm not very musically inclined. I like a lot of the things that my cohorts said they like. I like sports. Play a little sports. This past week I did tennis, but I like watching sports, keeping up with sports. Around the house, grilling and chilling, gardening. I like to exercise. So try to do that. I got a little elliptical machine that I try to hit at. Even if you're tired, it just feels good to get drenched with sweat when you can, a couple of days a week at the very least. And then just the salt water, having that, I really like it. I'm with Kellie. Made it down to the beach yesterday. They kind of have a just keep moving along directive going on right now. So there's no coolers or beach blankets, but that's real nice when you can do that, because that's just a real good way to unplug, is being near water. I've always found that to be the case.
Very nice. Well, in a similar light, is there what makes the city that you live in so great? And do you have any favorite spots to go to? Anything you can recommend to the viewers?
I'd say Wilmington is great in its variety of things to do for a city of its size. I think it's a relatively small city, and you might pick something out of Charlotte or Atlanta or Washington, D.C. that Wilmington wouldn't have had a chance of even having. So, I mean, I know there's scale to be had, but there's plenty to do. And then the variety of landscape with the different water bodies, the ocean, the intracoastal, the river, so close, that naturally lends itself to a lot of different things to do. I'd say one of my favorite spots is the part of the downtown riverfront and historic district portion of Wilmington. It's all within a few city blocks of each other, and it's extremely walkable. And there's just a variety of places to dip into and eat and drink. And it's a good vibe down there.
Wonderful. Do you want to jump in, Kellie?
I was going to say, I love Wilmington. I'm not a city person at all. But, visiting from time to time is cool, I guess. But, Wilmington just has, beautiful downtown features. They have the Riverwalk, numerous different kind of restaurants you can go in. They have a raid room. They have, again, what did we do the one time? The knife throwing thing.
Oh, you can throw axes.
Axes
and
arrows,
axes.
Multiple axe throwing opportunities in Wilmington.
Yes.
Axe throwing. Then you have, the beaches. Any beach you go to is going to be a beautiful beach. I love how the people here really take care of the beaches. Like, I rarely ever see any trash on the beaches, and it's great. People pick up after themselves there, and we keep our beaches clean. And, not too far away from here, you can go to Raleigh. You have Myrtle Beach to your south. It's just a really good location, and being in a southern coastal town, for me, it's something that I've always wanted to, experience living in, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, I completely agree with what my colleagues have said. I kind of like the Fort Fisher State Park myself. I think that's kind of a hidden treasure in a way. One nice thing about Fort Fisher is, you probably, of course, hear about like you go to Carolina Beach or Wrightsville Beach, you have to pay a lot of money to park. But obviously, Fort Fisher is a state park. You can park there for free. So that's a good beach experience. And plus, it's not quite as crowded either. So that's kind of a nice place to walk around, or if you want a little quieter beach experience.
Mm-hmm. I'm for sure more of a Wrightsville Beach kind of guy. I live near Wrightsville Beach, so I can very easily run or jog to the beach and get in and around there, kind of the Mayfair area. Also, really just from here up through like Surf City, North Topsail, some of those places, they're a lot of fun. I don't want to say a lot of folks my age, but 30 somethings, you're going to find some 30 somethings, in that neck of the woods. So it's pretty cool to get out there. And yeah, most people keep to themselves. And the one thing that was remarkable, when I came down here 5 years ago from Ohio, I was just floored at just how nice everybody is. You don't get that kind of niceness in Columbus, Ohio, when you walk past somebody in Walmart. Oftentimes it's what are you looking at me for? Like, what's going on? Here it's like, hi, how are you? Oh, wow, I didn't get cursed out. That's incredible. So it was a nice change of pace. I love the people down here and the scenery just as much.
Well, you know what they say is that people who are at the coast often are have a little bit more of a relaxed personality and are generally happier, right?
That's true.
And it sounds like we all need to try the river walk too if we haven't done that. I know that's I'll have to put that on my list.
Worth it.
But I think, Evan, you have one more question to follow up with, and we'll go with that.
Yeah, so one last very short, very silly question to kind of end us off for the eve or the afternoon, I guess. Gannon, start with you. Really philosophical here. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh shoot! You were really going to ask that?
Oh yeah, we were joking around earlier.
Yeah. I'm gonna say yeah. Like a square is a rectangle, but it's a square.
What goes on?
What
goes on your hot dog, Gannon? Tell us what's your toppings.
Oh man, I haven't had a hot dog in years, but I had like brats, so same kind of thing. It's mustard and then sometimes pickle relish, but definitely mustard.
I like the rectangle is a square is a rectangle, whatever. That's good. That's good logic.
I got mathematical on you.
I'm going to say yes, because if it's between two pieces of bread, in my mind, that qualifies as a sandwich. Very, very simple criteria. If I have to have a hot dog, I'd probably say chili, mustard, and some onions. Got to throw some onions on there too.
Okay.
Well, by that criteria, quesadilla is a sandwich too, then, right?
Oh, okay.
Sure.
That's for
bread,
the next
bread.
show.
It's got to be bread. Hot dog
Bread.
one's kind of
It's a
bread.
parallelogram.
Gabe, Kellie?
I'm stumped. Would never consider a hot dog a sandwich, but I guess if you think about it, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know.
In elementary school, when they'd send out the list of what's for lunch or whatever, they actually would have for us hot dog sandwich, which is okay. Small town Ohio, great. But I guess it would be considered a sandwich in that regard. I mean, if that's the same thing with with a hamburger, I guess it's technically a sandwich between two pieces of bread, like Eric said. So in my case, I'm with Eric though. I like chili on my hot dog, and I am a cheese fiend. So whether it's nacho cheese, cheddar cheese, you name it, load it on there, good to go.
So Gabe, on my hot dogs, I do the cheese rotel dip. You can mix the rotel and the cheese to get with a little bit of chili. It's good. It's good.
Oh yeah. Oh, and bacon too. Duh. We're planning in my front. A little bit of bacon on there, just for some taste.
Awesome.
Kellie,
Yeah,
what's on your hot dog? I know I stumped you, but
I'm still figuring out if a hot dog's a sandwich over here. I haven't even gotten past the first question. But I guess, I don't know, kind of just the classic hot dog kind of gal, onions, mustard, ketchup. What's that one hot dog place in Southport that's now in Wrightsville Beach, guys? Do you know what I'm talking about? The Trolley Stop or something like that?
Maybe it.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of really cool, different kind of hot dogs there. So, I don't know. Is a hot dog a sandwich, though?
This is a question that's going to have to come back every time we do this now. So,
I bet
I like
for
y'all's
you-
answers. These were good.
I bet for you guys watching, you never thought we was going to talk about hot dogs on this show. But we are going to start to close up. So I would love to give each and every one of you the opportunity, if our followers and listeners find themselves in Wilmington, how can they find you on the social media platforms so they know what the weather's going to be like when they're visiting the Wilmington area? Gannon, I'll start with you.
Thanks, Scotty, and thanks, guys, for the opportunity to hang out. I'd like to revise my answer on the hot dogs to include chili, first of all. But also, if you're in Wilmington, you have any interest in Wilmington weather, I'm at Medwick, just my last name, on Twitter, at Gannon Medwick, all one word, on Instagram, and then meteorologist Gannon Medwick WECT is the search for Facebook. So I'm on all of those 3 places.
Okay.
Forgot my Instagram. I'm gonna have to remember that. But on Twitter, I'm at Eric Davis, WECT, ERICDAVIS, WECT. Meteorologist Eric Davis WECT. You can find me on Facebook. I'll have to get back to you on the Instagram. I forgot for the moment.
I have it, Eric. It's WX Eric D 10.
WX Eric D10. There you go. That's Instagram. Thank you, Gabe.
Quick search.
My Twitter is at Kellie_WX. And for those that may be watching that doesn't know what WX means, it means weather. And my Facebook is just meteorologist Kellie McGlynn. So if you do come to the Wilmington area, you won't be disappointed. And hopefully you won't be disappointed in what the weather is that day. But otherwise, it's a beautiful place.
I try to make all my social media as consistent as possible. So you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at TV's Gabe Ross, TVS Gabe Ross, GABEROSS, YouTube, and all the other fun stuff you can find on that too.
Well,
and I just want to say too, I'm not like other Kellies who spell their name with a Y.
Oh yeah.
My name is KELLIE, so that may help you find me too.
All right.
There you go. Well, we appreciate you you all joining us this afternoon. For everyone who is watching, thank you for joining us, and catch us next time as we wrangle up another group of meteorologists and ask them these silly questions. Have a good day.
Thank you.